Hi, I'm Adam Gopnik, and I'm here to welcome you to the next and unfortunately the last in the series of film noir that Melissa Errico and I have happily curated for FIAF in connection with our concert series Il Part, Elle Chante, and particularly with its last episode, Mystery. Tonight's film is a 1960 French film, Tirer le pianiste, Shoot the Piano Player, by François Truffaut, starring Charles Aznavour. It is an extraordinary film. It's exactly the moment when the forces of film noir, having propelled the forces of the French New Wave forward, intermingle and entangle in a way that makes this film neither quite film noir nor quite new wave, but a wonderful and original mingling of the two. It's based on a novel by David Goudis, who was what was then called a pulp writer, an American pulp writer, who, like so many, eked out a living only to be rediscovered retrospectively. The Library of America, the so-called American Pleiad, just put Goudis's novels of the 50s into classic type, into the canon. And Aznavour recognized, I beg your pardon, Truffaut recognized the excellence of Goudis's work and adapted a story about a man who, losing his identity as a classical pianist, then becomes a kind of clandestine jazz pianist. But where Goudis's novel is quite dour and severe and stoical in affect, Truffaut's film is one of the most remarkably supple tragicomedies in all of movies. On the one hand, it's a very serious story that involves gang violence, fraternal betrayal, and ends with an unforgettably tragic death. On the other hand, it's a comedy that in many ways anticipates Tarantino in its depiction of the gangsters as essentially comedians, obsessed with trivia even as they engage in kidnappings and acts of violence. The first 15 minutes of this film are unforgettable exactly because of that extraordinarily supple transition in tone. The film starts as a flat out homage to American film noir with a man being chased down a nocturnal street, and then suddenly takes a bizarre turn into French comedy because this same pursued man then gets engaged in a conversation about the decorum of marriage with a total stranger, which he carries on for another 5 minutes, and then he's being chased again. And those twists, those turnings from film noir seriousness to French contemplative comedy are one of the things that gives this film its extraordinary sense. I gather that Truffaut thought, as he was shooting it on the streets of Paris, unable to put together enough money to do a studio shoot, that he might have on his hands a mess instead of a masterpiece. But it is, as I say, exactly the chiaroscuro of the film, the ways in which it goes so unpredictably from wild comedy into profound tragedy that gives it its distinctive tone. That, and above all, the face of Aznavour. This is one of Aznavour's few first-rate performances. He didn't, I believe, ever work with Truffaut again, but there's something about this French-Armenian face, stolid within this changing world, which adds to the normal note of Camus-like stoicism that's so much part of film noir and French New Wave, its own kind of pawky and unpredictable comedy. We never know how seriously we are to take the Aznavour character, in part because we don't know how seriously he takes himself. This is, as I say, the end of the orbit of film noir, both in our series and, in a sense, in film history, and its reemergence as cinema verite, new wave, and above all, the special, bittersweet, half tragic, half comic muse of François Truffaut. Enjoy this film.